Alright guys, part 2. Just getting this one in frame so that everything focuses. Okay, so yeah, there's so much to talk about. I can spend over an hour just talking about the Sherman tank. I'm not going to, but this is my all-time favorite tank ever made in the entire world. I have very close seconds and thirds and fourths, my top 5 I guess, but the Sherman tank is always gonna be number 1. So as I was talking about in the first video, this still needs more detail to finish the job, but overall this is a great start with any custom work that you would want to do. So let's flip it upside down so you can see the 21st Century Toys 2002 made in China. Okay, so again, great detail. This one does not have suspension. This one is not a die cast. This one is all plastic. Now before I put the turret back on, I'm just gonna lay it this way. The reason for that is because let's bring in the U.S. U.K. Sherman tank. Why the U.S. and the U.K. put together? Well, hey, this is what it is. It's made in the U.S. It was shipped to the UK, and the Britons, the British, they did not like the 75mm main gun. It was too wimpy. It was too small to penetrate the German armor. So what did they end up doing? Well, for starters, let me come on this side here. For starters, they cut a hole in the back of the turret to mount the radio box, okay? And from there, they took out the main gun, 75mm, and they put in their own gun, which is the 17-pounder, which is the British, 76mm, and they nicknamed it the Firefly. Now, these are rare. They made a few. I'm gonna say I honestly cannot give you a accurate number because I really don't know, but I'm gonna say something around 100, maybe less, maybe a little bit more, around there. But for the most part, these are wicked tanks. Again, the reason why the U.S. did not put a bigger gun in the 75 or in the Sherman tank, I can't talk, is because they figured the general that ordered them to make as many medium tanks as possible to win World War II. Again, they made 50,000 of them, and we won by sheer number, okay? But let's say for every 5 tanks up against 1 Tiger, maybe 3 or 4 would be knocked out, and that 4th or 5th tank would get behind the Tiger and blow the crap out of it, okay? So later in mid-war, like I'm gonna say 43, 44, 45, they started having the Fireflies with a squad of regular Shermans, and that would help. And in that time they would put camouflage to try and hide the 76mm versus the 75mm, because if the Tigers or if any Germans saw that they had a 76, they would always target those tanks first. Take out the longer barrel, and then you can save and just destroy these later. And the Germans would call these the Ronsons, which is like a German lighter, and basically one strike and it would catch on fire, because again, the Sherman's armor was way too thin for the high velocity rounds that the Panzers were shooting from. So yeah, again, the Fireflies are incredible. I mean, they just look freaking badass. They are incredible. And again, the U.S. did not like that the British put in their British gun in the U.S. tank. So to somewhat fight that back, they in turn, as they were developing the M4 Sherman to the M4A1, M4A2, A3, A4, they put different guns in the turrets, and one of them was the 105 millimeter, and that was the 105 howitzer. And that one, basically, again, it was like the priest with the 105, but to hide it, they cut it down to like the 75 millimeter main gun, so that this way the Germans would not distinguish the difference between the 75 millimeter and the 105 howitzer. And then you had others, again, like this one with the 76 millimeter, but with a U.S. gun, not a British gun. And they had different turrets as well. The U.S. started changing the turret pattern versus the U.S. 75 millimeter turret. They changed the look of it, the design of it. Recently, again, that's one of the reasons why right here you have this extra armor plate, because that was added there because they had to grind the armor in the inside of the hull, or the inside of the turret, and this way it could fit more of the British gun, and also another, again, the US 76 millimeter gun. And again, this part here was way too thin, so they added extra armor right here. So that's why that armor is there. Now, why is it here and here as well? Here is because of the gas, the gasoline that the Shermans would use. That was part of the gas tank, so they needed to make it thicker, so they added here. This right here was the ammo supply storage, so again, you hit that, boom, you know, so they added more extra armor there. And here, same thing. So that's why you have Shermans with extra armors, or extra armor plates. I keep saying armors instead of plates. But anyway, so that's why you have in those 4 spots. Now, the reason why I have this off this way is because the great thing about these 21st century toys is that you can pull the turrets off and switch this to this one over here. So let's close this one over here, let's close that, and you can see that if you wanted to make a custom and not really do too much work, versus, you know, just doing a little bit of painting here and there, you can do that. So let's say that you want your, your Sherman tank to look like an early version or a Ford or whatever. You can have the front transmission cover this way with a regular 75mm gun. Okay? Now, of course, you would have to take off the plate to the machine gun there, and which is another thing that the British did, because again, the rounds were so big, or bigger, and they needed the extra space, so they took off the gunner and they added more ammunition for the 76mm. So that's why they added the extra armor there. Okay, so anyway, Firefly and not Firefly. Or you can, again, change the Firefly turret to this front transmission cover. Okay, so yeah, incredible. Love these tanks. The 21st century's toys. This one is dated, again, 2002. And again, 50,000 Sherman tanks were made, and made by Ford, made by Chevy, Chrysler, all the U.S. transportation companies all got together and started making airplanes, started making tanks, jeeps, half-tracks for the war effort. So that's why you had, again, 50,000. So after World War II, they were used in Korea, and after Korea, other wars around the world, and they were just sold off. They were abandoned in some respects in again in Japan, in the Philippines, in Normandy, the Netherlands, all these countries around the world. The United States were like, well, the war's over, let's just get our men and go home. And they left the tanks there. It's like, are you shitting me? Are you freaking kidding me? You just leave the freaking equipment there? All these men and women spending their entire day making these tanks, you just leave them there. They could have, brought them back home. They could have disassembled them, melted them down, make other, cars or trucks, whatever the case may be, maybe scrap iron or whatever the case may be, and there you go. But yet, they left them there, and it's really, really sad to see some on the beach rusting away. Monuments, there are monuments, there are museums that collect these and remember that these were a part of their history, that the U.S. went in and saved their town, saved their family from the Nazis, from the Japanese, from all this stuff. Which brings me to another point. In Iwo Jima, okay, so this was, again, in the UK, fighting the Germans. In Iwo Jima, you had Sherman tanks that looked like a regular 75mm gun, right? But they did not shoot the 75mm cannon, or gun, the main gun. They had an actual napalm flamethrower there. So you could see, you can probably look up videos of it. The tanks are rolling in, and you just see a long flame, liquid flame coming out of the tank, the main gun. So yeah, you had flame tanks, and you had tanks that freaking They tried everything. You had bulldozer tanks, like bulldozer Shermans. You had Shermans that had what is it? Like rubber frames around them, and they would pick up. So it would be a frame, and then it would pick up like something like this tall, and they would drive off of the ships, and they would float onto the beach. Now, not a lot of those were made because it proved that it was not successful. So only a handful were ever made, and of those handful, most of those are in the bottom of the ocean, or on the beaches, basically on the bottom of the beaches, and rusting away. But there are a few that did survive and did make it onto land, and those are very, very rare tanks. But yeah, these are amazing detailed tanks. Again, one of my all-time favorite tanks. I freaking love this tank. Nothing will ever change my mind. It's beautiful. It is. When anybody talks about or says the word tank, I just automatically think of the Sherman tank. Okay, so again, you saw that the tracks move. So again, very easily. This one's a little harder, but no big deal. It's okay. And yeah, so just incredible tanks. Now the last actual model that we're gonna take a look at is this one right here, and this one is the Forces of Valor. Now this is a die-cast metal, so the upper hull is die-cast, and the turret is die-cast as well as I believe the gun. So yeah, this one is awesome, and I showed you in the original video when I did make it that this one you just gotta basically push with your finger and the tracks move, and you can, it's not like the rubber hitting anything and making all these squeakies and like squeaky noises and all this. It's smooth, it's beautiful. And as you can see there, it does have suspension, which I was gonna talk about, but well, it's good to have the Firebird here. So you can see the suspension. Now again, let's flip it upside down, and you can see Unimax right there. So this one is 2003 Unimax Toys, made in China. All rights reserved. So let's see what fell. I would say the wheel fell. I just don't see it. Okay, weird. Oh, I see it. It's right there. So yeah, you get your little extra wheels and you put it there. Here's your rope, so that you can tie it off to this, make it look like it's pulling the Sherman. You have your extra jerry cans right here. Again, amazing detail, amazing. I mean, really, man, I freaking love this model here. So let's open the hatches. Let's open that one. Let's come on this side. Okay. It's open over here, and this one over here, and that's all that you can open on these tanks. You cannot take the turrets off. You can see right there. And what is that in there? I'll tell you that in a minute. I have a bullet in there and a needle, a sewing needle. But anyway, this thing in there, which let me try and get a flashlight. So that is a tarantula's fang. Why do I have it in there? I have no idea. But yeah. Again, the Sherman tanks are my all-time favorite tanks ever made in the entire world. Which of the Sherman tanks is my absolutely favorite tank ever made? Oh God. Man, I don't know. The E8s, I mean, damn, they look good. The M4 with the cast hull, the cast turret, they look awesome. The M4A1, awesome. The jumbos, they are cool, but not my style. The Fireflies, damn right, they're freaking badass, really badass. Oh man, I don't know. I do know that I do love one that's in the Netherlands, and it has a 13 on top of it, and it says Cougar on the side. And I love that tank. It is a, I believe it's a Chrysler, and it has a 105 millimeter howitzer, and it's very special to me for a personal reason, and that'll never change my mind. I love it. But for the most part, oh man, there's so many different variations of Shermans that I absolutely love. But if I had to say, or if I had to pick, I don't know, I'm not going to pick a number one. But what I will say is I love the M4 with the cast upper hull. I love the M4A3 or M4A4 with the welded hull, extra armor with 105 millimeter howitzer, as well as I love the oh my god, the Fireflies. I love them as well. The ones that for the actual models, I do want to get a bulldozer Sherman tank. So that is on my wish list for next time. If I do get one, I will remake another video for it, or make a video for it. But I mean, I'm trying to think what else I can talk about because I love this tank so much. But yeah, it's gonna be a long video. So anything else? Well, okay, good. I just remembered the Super Shermans. How could I forget the Super Shermans? The Iraqi Super Shermans. They are awesome. They're basically, again, found abandoned tanks taken over there to Iraq, and they changed the engines, they changed sometimes the turrets, or they customized the turrets. They put 105 millimeter main guns, and they had longer barrels, of course. They changed that with the cast upper hulls, the VVS U.S.A suspension, also the E8 suspension, cast hulls, the welded hulls, all these stuff. I mean, just incredible tanks, incredible. Love the Sherman, nothing will ever change my mind. Freaking badass tank. But it's already way too long. But yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, or these videos I should say. So that's about it, guys. So stay safe, get healthy, or stay healthy. And again, wait for the next video. So for now, Ronin246 saying take care, stay safe, and is out. Bye, guys. Love the Sherman.